Hey, what's up, guys? This is the Heroes Edge podcast, Star Wars Special, Episode 8. This week, I'm your guest moderator, Dan Humphrey. Obviously, Blake Britton's not here. He's kind of off to the side with Cameron being judge panelists this week.
Talking about how lame Inhumans are.
American Idol judge panelists at the moment. But this is our Star Wars special, and like I said, I'm your guest moderator, and things are going to change a little bit this week. Cue Empire music. Okay, to my right, as usual, we have Darren Kravanaugh, and to his right, we have Jimmy Price, and to his right, we have Zach Walters.
Oh, that's actually Kyle.
Oh, Zach Kyle? Okay. And then Zach Walters.
Hello.
I'll get this right eventually. Okay, so leading from that point, we're going to talk about the pop culture segment. And the segment this week, dealing with Star Wars, is Star Wars Rebels. What do you guys think of the show?
Love it.
That's awesome. Mostly indifferent, super hit or miss.
Not a fan.
Can you be a little bit more in depth? Like, why are you not a fan?
Oh, I don't know.
He's not a fan because he hasn't watched it.
I've watched most of Rebels. I didn't really care for the Clone Wars, and Rebels is definitely better, but it's just still not that good.
I mean, is it because of it's an animated show?
No, I mean, I love like the new TMNT like kid show like so much, but I just think the characters don't really do anything for me, and the plots are just nothing for me either.
See, that's where there are actual new characters in this one, though. Like,
no, I know they're new. They just suck.
but I mean, they kind of sucked in Clone Wars too.
Oh, they definitely did.
And you can only have Anakin Skywalker do Anakin Skywalker things.
I
like
agree.
The occasional
Rebels
Imperial March playing in the background for so long.
Yeah.
Well, especially with like a series that runs, how many episodes per season for 5 seasons?
Yeah.
You know what's going on with Obi-Wan from episode 1 of the Clone Wars.
Things get stale. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do think Rebels is definitely a nice jump. It's a lot better than
There's
Clone Wars.
interesting points that I've seen like about the show that are like a little different. Like I like the unique lightsabers that are in it. You know,
like Ezra's.
That
that's
thing is-
different.
Which is a newer gun.
That's kind of like thinking a little bit out of the box.
Yeah.
I
like that thing too.
But what would you say that you like about the show, if anything?
It's just in a better time period. Obviously, it's just more interesting. The Clone Wars just was beaten to death. I think.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Yeah.
And yeah, some of the characters are mildly interesting. It's just, I don't know. I also didn't watch a lot of the Clone Wars, so anything that carries over from that, I'm kind of missing out on. So
You're not missing out too much.
yeah,
I mean, basically, you get Ahsoka and then Rex.
right.
There hasn't even
Yeah.
been a lot of payoff with them yet either. It's just, hey, here's
Yeah.
Captain Rex. Remember Captain Rex?
Right.
Yeah.
He's old now.
Yeah. I think he kicked someone in last week's episode, but that was about it.
Big event.
So, maybe the plot can move along a little faster.
Yeah, that's my biggest problem, because with the Clone Wars, you at least had these 4 to 5 episode arcs. You gotta find like they were going somewhere. You'd occasionally get one with Jar Jar Binks just tripping over himself for 5 episodes. And
Right.
You wouldn't give a shit.
Right.
But with
They
Rebels,
were almost like mini movies.
with Rebels, it feels like it's too isolated. Like the
Two
plot of
episodes.
season 2 right now is basically we need more ships for the fleet, and we're gonna go to Malachor for
That's
the
the
last
stuff I
episode.
like the most, though, because the rebellion's always my favorite part of Star Wars in general. So just seeing them come together, all the separate rebellions, to form one major rebellion.
Yeah.
It's
great.
it's cool to see.
What do you think about the the animation changes from like Clone Wars to Rebels? Do you think it's better? Do you think it's worse?
I think they're both bad. I just don't care.
Yeah, It's not great.
We were talking about it a little bit beforehand. I was okay with Rebels up until I saw the way they redesigned Yoda to interpret him into kind of the Rebels art style, and I saw just him and his big, dumb, like weird and small face, and I'm like, oh, that's why do you look like that? And then I just took a second look at the show, and I watched a couple episodes of the Clone Wars again recently, and I know Clone Wars does look better.
Yeah,
I don't think there's any comparison.
I do like how they did Vader. They did an amazing job animating Vader.
It's almost like kind of like McCory angles
Yes.
on his face.
Yes.
Yeah, it looks
Like with
cool.
the red eyes and stuff like that. Like he's very much like episode 1.
Almost like the
Or
cover
episode
of like
4.
Splinter of the Mind's Eye or
Yes.
something. Just like really weird concept.
Like whenever he
stuff.
shows up, it's like we're blowing the budget on that guy.
Yeah.
Anything else?
The animation for any of the space battles is great too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any of the action
Anything
is awesome.
actually in space looks good.
I mean, they had the one episode that explained where the B-Wing came from.
Yeah.
That was, that's one of those weird ships that just shows up in Return of the Jedi. You're like, what the hell is that thing? Oh, it's a B-Wing?
Yeah.
And then it's like, why is that even a cool ship? And then they went into a great detail about how, it was made and what makes it better than, like, say, the X-Wing or the Y-Wing.
Right.
Did it have that crazy super laser in the old continuity?
No, actually, they're already going back and trying to say that was just the prototype, and then when they mass produce it, they couldn't afford to.
Yeah, because this B-Wing
Because
just
otherwise, they can't explain why it doesn't have it in Return of the Jedi.
why Endor wasn't 10 minutes long.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the show, the B-Wing, it just used to be just a weird shaped ship. In the Rebels, where they introduced the prototype, it's got like a Death Star cannon on
Yeah.
it, like a weird focusing emitter that just blasts out the middle. And to Zach's point, where'd that go?
Well, Rebels don't really have the money to mass produce something like that.
Yeah, they had that senile Mon Calamari
Era,
make the
right?
one.
Yeah.
and then that was just it for that weapon, I
Yeah.
guess.
But it was nice to see stuff like that, like little things from the past.
Yeah.
Where it's like I said, when Return of the Jedi, the thing just showed up, and you're like, what the hell was that thing?
The more
Where'd they
original
get that?
trilogy stuff we can do to forget about the prequels is probably the better.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the era of Dark Times is really interesting, but I don't think that they're like captivating the things that maybe the fans want to see during those Dark Times, like Vader hunting down leftover Jedi.
Oh, you want to see the Purge?
I want to
Yeah.
see the Purge.
That would be cool.
You know what I mean? That was a big part of the Dark Times.
Yeah.
I think
Maybe they're going into that in the future episodes, but
I think that's a tough sell for a show for 8-year-olds. It's Vader just murdering children.
Yeah.
It's
an easy
launch show.
yeah.
I would agree with you, but unfortunately, fanboys are really what's watching these shows.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I would go half and half because obviously, it's on Disney XD, but you'd be surprised at how many 35-year-olds are watching these damn shows.
It is set to my DVR.
It's worse. I'm just paying just the Google Play services. Give them $3 every week, and I just own them now. I have space whales on my Google account forever.
Yeah, it literally goes like, Star Wars Rebels and then, Gummy Bears, like right after that.
Mom, really? You're not going DuckTales first?
I'm just saying, like we watch what we want to watch. Doesn't really matter what age you are.
Yeah.
I did hear an interesting rumor about season 3 that there was the possibility that they would be adding Grand Admiral Thrawn.
Saw that.
Oh God, I would die happy if they.
Yeah.
I'd like to see
good
more like guest voices on the show.
Yeah. Although when they did Billy D. Williams, he was so old that you could see like them trying to like adjust the animation to like match his old voice.
What do we have here?
It's just,
I remember when
kinda gets sad.
they had Lando on the show. I texted you guys being like, "Man, the guy they got for Lando did terrible."
Any Billy D. Williams impersonator would have sounded more like Billy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe he should have been like holding a Colt 45 just to like sell it a little bit more.
Yeah.
That goes back to like when he used to do 70s Colt 45 commercials. We're old. dude.
Actually, he did that. He did
we
that
were just
through the
talking
80s
about
into
that.
the 90s.
Well, I'm just saying.
And he's doing it again.
Yeah. He's like the infinite spokesman for beer.
Pretty much.
So if there was anything you guys would change about the show to step up watchability, what would it be?
Episode arcs. I'm not a huge fan of the the one-offs. 1 week they're sailing on hyperspace whales, another week choppers up to no good because again it is ultimately a kid show. I really like in the Clone Wars where you would get maybe 5 bad episodes in a row, but you would when the stars align get 5 really good episodes in a row
that you could care about more.
Yeah, it's. I think it's tough to really get invested in the story in Rebel. I like the characters a lot more, but it's really tough to get invested in the story when it ultimately just amounts to, hey, we got a cool new capital ship this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like we're just like a bunch of mercenaries, and it's episode to episode trying to make money and moving along from there.
Yeah.
I'd like to see more episodes showing the just regular citizens becoming rebels, like they show on Lothal and some of the other planets. And,
If you're gonna go
see the stormtroopers just being,
Dumb.
Gestapo.
Yeah.
if you're gonna go episodic, there are some more interesting directions we could go, just like galaxy spanning wise. Just show some more interesting stuff and not play it so safe.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
Maybe like I understand again, like it is a Disney XD show, but realize that, regardless of what you're going to put online or on TV dealing with Star Wars, you're going to get viewers from every single age bracket.
Yeah.
So maybe do what kind of Cartoon Network does for those little kid shows, like put in little adult things that kids won't even recognize.
There's a good
until
way,
they get older.
There's a
You know
good
what I
way to
mean?
write kid shows to make them appealing to not just kids.
I think Rebels teeters on it. You can see occasionally like there's some good writing in the shows. The one where they hijack the interdictor.
Yeah.
I mean that was just a fun episode. Kids can enjoy it, adults can enjoy it, and you still have stormtroopers being brutally murdered for people who who need to get that, who just don't like them getting hit on the head. And there was just some really clever action bits in it too, and I didn't feel like it was pandering to a younger audience. That one, so it's there, but I don't think they've found their stride yet.
Was that the one where Rex took off his stormtrooper helmet and just threw it at another stormtrooper?
Nailed him and then shot
Hit him in the
that
face.
was great.
That was
And he's bitching about how crappy stormtrooper helmets are as he's throwing it.
Yeah.
that was great. That was a
good
great
stuff,
bridge between kind of the eras. I love that.
Yeah.
So basically, wrapping up the pop culture segment, like we could say that mostly this show is dedicated toward a younger audience, but it has its adult moments and it needs to kind of pick itself up from there.
Yeah. Sure.
I would definitely say like kind of step up the animation a little more.
We all just missed Gendy Tartovsky, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're still getting over the
Still
Clone
sore
Wars
about
not
that.
being that.
But even like other CG shows, like do seem a little better than this.
You should pop in. It's not 95. You should watch just a couple, like 1 or 2 episodes of the later Clone Wars, because the animation actually it looks a lot better, shockingly better.
Yeah.
From the Clone Wars like actual movie that came out, the first thing that they ever released, to the Netflix season like that they released in the last season,
Right.
It's completely different.
Night and day.
Yeah, night and day for sure. So, but anyways, moving on from there, let's get into our first topic, because obviously we can talk forever about Star Wars because there's endless topics. But let's talk continuity reboot. Like, what's canon, what's not canon for those that really don't know. Okay, let's start there. What is the meaning of canon? Like, what does that mean?
Isn't the best way to put it just kind of Lucasfilm approved material?
That's what it was initially.
At this point,
Yeah. It's not even that anymore. I mean, it used to be that if you wanted to write a book, Lucas would have to say, okay, you can do that. There used to be rules. You couldn't write about Wookiees before the Clone Wars and all that, or the prequels. You couldn't write about Wookiees. You couldn't write about Yoda or his past. I mean, hell, we don't even still know what race he is.
No.
Yeah.
And we've only seen one or two other species like him. There's Yaddle, and then there was the one from KOTOR.
Yeah.
Oh, Vandar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
about Vandar.
you couldn't write about the Clone Wars. You couldn't write about the Mandalorians. You had all these rules. And then whenever someone would come out a book, you'd be like, I approve this. It's like, it was Lucas approved, so it was a part of canon. Then he gave it all to Disney, and Disney's like, well, that's out the window.
Yeah.
Well, eventually, like he let slip. Like as soon as they seemed to, Del Rey was writing the majority of like the novels, and they were making money for Lucas. I think at that point he started letting things like a little.
Well, but you
things
still,
slip.
you still had things like when the new Jedi Order came out with the Vong and everything. they came to Lucas with a list. These are the people we'd like to kill. And he's like, nope. And spoiler alert, they killed Chewbacca because he's like, yeah, it's okay, you can kill Chew.
You can kill the family dog if you want to.
Exactly. But then when he gave it all to Disney or sold it for an amazing amount of money.
I just mean by that point, they were talking about Mandalorians. They were talking about.
Well, that's
pretty
because
much-
the Clone War, because the prequels had already come out. Those were stories that he wanted to tell and didn't want someone else to tell it, even though he told it horribly. He wanted, like, okay, I want to talk about the Clone Wars. That's the story I want to tell. And then when those stories came out, then it's like, okay, you can talk about those things now. That's when we had, like, KOTOR came out, and they talk a lot about Kashyyyk and stuff like that. Then it was okay because Lucas...
Because it was already out of the bag.
Exactly.
Right.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. This is for those who don't know, like the EU, like the way old fans know it. Like, is there any correlation between this new Lucas Force Awakens and the EU?
You guys probably got that pretty well. I didn't read too much post Return of the Jedi. A lot of Wikipedia summaries, but I never did New Jedi Order. I never did Legacy of the Force.
Do you mean? Are you asking like what are they pulling from the old stuff?
I would ask like what's the? Is there anything that's similar? Is there anything the same?
with Force Awakens specifically?
In new canon, some
Yeah.
of the smaller details are coming back, like
ships and technical
stuff,
details.
but-
It was always, I guess, kind of assumed that stuff would just come back anyway. But for the most part, almost everything is different.
Yeah.
Just like where characters are at this point in time. Of course, we don't know a heck of a lot right now. But,
Right.
yeah, for the most part, it's all
none of the major events from the EU
yeah.
carried over.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
And we've got rumors of them pulling in old characters or old events, but so far, I don't think we've had much, have we? Other than
If there was an
just-
EU story that you guys would want to make canon, what would it be?
Just in every aspect
Yeah.
of it. Kyle, you go first because now go off on a tangent.
I'd say the Thrawn trilogy,
definitely.
but that's obviously
but that would
impossible.
screw up everything. Like, it's just not possible.
You know how they're making separate movies like next year we're gonna have, or this year we're gonna have Rogue
Yeah.
One.
right?
Like and then the following year I think they're gonna be doing like a Han Solo story, something like that. If they were to make an offshoot movie of something based off of the EU, what would be your favorite? What would you like to see as a fan?
Probably Shadows of the Empire.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
And in a weird way, you could actually kind
Yeah,
of get
that
away
one
with that.
still hasn't been totally contradicted
Yeah.
yet, so they could squeeze that in there, but they wouldn't. I mean, they've pretty much said as much because they don't want to pick favorites. That's what they said when they decided to scrap the whole thing. Was they weren't gonna pick any complete stories to bring back in.
Okay.
They said the new authors can take inspiration from those things or bring elements of them back in, but not an entire book or story.
And you mean
The
Disney-
current
the
Lucas
story
story
group.
group.
okay?
Yeah.
That's a good point too, because just because you hear a character, you see a character, or a name drop. Darth Bane was in the Clone Wars. That doesn't matter. That doesn't mean Darth Bane has done any of the shit he did in the old.
Oh, I get
all
that.
All that we know is that Darth Bane was once a guy named Darth Bane.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, just because you see someone like Admiral Thrawn maybe coming up in Rebels, or if we ever get a Darth Revan reference, that doesn't mean that they're in their entirety is that
Right.
they're back. It just means
Yeah, he was
they're gonna be-
mentioned. The name alone, that's about it.
maybe they'll get fleshed out again, in the future. But it's no guarantee that Darth Bane did all the stuff in
Yeah.
the Darth Bane trilogy.
if they were to pull like characters back like that, like it is kind of being rumored right now about Thrawn or Mara Jade or someone like that, they could make it work. Like they could still be the same base characters with the same personalities, just not doing the same things that they did. To have like a character like Mara Jade that was the Emperor's Hand, it's such a great concept, and to have that back would be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, keeping with EU before moving on a little bit more. Let's talk about favorite characters, EU or not, or canon, even up to Force Awakens. Do you have a favorite character, Darren?
I have a few. Darth Revan is my favorite Darth. But I'm also a fan of my favorite Jedi would be Cornhorn from the was it I Jedi book, and he was in Rogue Squadron too, I believe. And then one of my favorite characters was also Kirkanos, who was the last or one of the last Imperial Guard from a book called Crimson Empire, which is also really good. But yeah, those are mine.
Kyle, what about you?
Luke Skywalker.
First and foremost.
He's
Simple.
yeah, he's a good guy.
He's a big guy.
That's what I like.
You like the good guys. You like rebels and you like the good guys.
Yeah,
Right
Yeah.
on.
I like the Rebel Alliance in general. All the Rebel characters.
Cool. Jimmy?
Yeah, Luke Skywalker, as because it's Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
He,
The most powerful Jedi.
you know,
We
even
can see the date. Well, we think.
I think even just taking only the movies into consideration, he's the go-to guy. He does the classic heroes arc, and you're just super excited. As a kid watching him, and being like, oh, I could be Luke Skywalker.
Did you cry a bit when he showed up in Force Awakens?
I don't know what I was doing.
I lost control of all bodily
I
function.
blacked out. If I had to pick a favorite EU character, I mean, there's a ton of them. One I always want to talk about that none of you guys ever do is the main character from Knights of the Old Republic 2, the Jedi Exile. Mitra Surik.
Yeah. Yep.
It's mostly, probably A, because, I got to be the character. I got to, play through the story. But I also just, really love how in that game, it's not a black and white game.
Yeah.
It's very dark and gray. One of my favorite parts about it is you, as the Jedi Exile, you can make a decision. You help out this homeless man just looking for food or credits or something, and you get the light side point.
Yeah.
And then, 30 seconds later, he just gets murdered because he's a homeless guy walking around with a bunch of money in Nar Shaddaa right now.
Yeah.
So, I just love how, you get to be that character kind of in a gray Star Wars universe. And that really resonated with me.
That's an interesting second runner, considering it's like pretty obscure.
Yeah.
I think they made like a Star Wars miniature of the character.
Yes, they did.
The Exile.
Yep.
Yeah, that game is like pretty crazy for like any Star Wars fans that are fans of the EU universe.
It's heavy. It's a heavy game to get through.
Yeah, it's cool. So Zach, what about you? Any favorites?
I really love the Thrawn trilogy, so Thrawn and Mara Jade are very up there for me.
Right on.
I also really liked the old Tales of the Jedi comic with like Eula Keldroma and like Vima Sunrider and all those characters.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the whole concept of those where like the Sith were exiled and then they're refound by like hyperspace charters that would just like spin the dial and just fly somewhere, and they'll probably die, but maybe not. I just thought that idea was so cool.
Tag and Bink.
Yeah.
Like the funny versions of those tales.
Right,
Star Wars
exactly.
tales.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
I'll always remember there was one of the tales of Star Wars where they showed a picture of it was just like one page, and it was like an Ewok found a gun on Endor, and then he pointed at his face and shot himself. It always stuck with me.
Yeah.
That's your old expanded universe takeaway. It's just the suicidal Ewoks.
Bring that back.
Well, it's the thing is a lot of people don't get. They're like, oh, they're so cute. They're teddy bears. You know where they got all those like stormtrooper helmets? They were eating them.
I didn't realize that until the Shattered Empire. Like my brain never put it together for some reason. If there was a character in the background of the Shattered Empire comics, like, wait, we're eating what?
Yeah,
whatever.
Right?
And just years and years after seeing Return of the Jedi, I just went, oh my god,
Yeah.
that's what's going. And
They
then
were-
they were
Yeah.
cooking Han and Luke.
Yeah.
Like, oh, they're not just burning them,
Right?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, we're going to follow this false idol C-3PO floating around over here, but we're going to eat stormtroopers because they are tasty.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's not considered cannibalistic because they're alien creatures. We're just eating humans.
And that tells you how shitty the armor was if their little spears are like getting through.
Yeah,
That's a whole other story.
Yeah, I was always a fan of like the more obscure EU characters as well, just because like, man, in the 90s, we only had 3 movies, and anything past that.
And we were better for it.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, anything past that, we had to use our imaginations and comics and books to get more of what we wanted to see, like
Anything that expanded like the scope of the galaxy and the history, especially like Tales of the Jedi. Speaking of something that I'd want to see as a movie, like a spin-off movie, like something going that far back would be great because it wouldn't conflict with anything and they could just have the freedom to kind of do whatever they wanted.
Yeah.
Well, I know you're not a fan of Zack Snyder.
I'm not.
But did you hear one of his
Sorry.
concepts of a Star Wars movie that he would like to do?
No, I didn't.
He would like to do a Samurai 7.
Oh, I did.
And
hear that,
and I'm the same way. Anything he does action wise, I'm great with.
yeah.
But like, I would like to see his take on a Samurai 7 Jedi.
Like with
Yeah.
Force users?
yeah, with Force users coming together to like save like a town from like
Sure.
whatever evil would be coming towards it. But I heard that concept and I was like, oh yeah, that would make a cool movie.
Yeah.
We don't need a Han Solo.
Reboot.
Yeah,
Whatever
let's
that
just
is.
give me something where a bunch of Jedis are kicking ass. Good with that.
What was everyone's first exposure to the expanded universe? Like, what was your first story, or like the first time you remember being like, "Oh, holy smokes, there's more than Return of the Jedi"? Like, what was your first thing?
I remember my mom taking me to the comic store. That was the one on Green Street, not this one. But
Daddy's toys.
yeah, and she asked the guy what happens after Return of the Jedi, and he gave her Dark Empire. So that
That's
was
a
my
cool first
thing.
story to read.
Yeah, yeah.
Mine was Tales from the Cantina.
That's
Okay.
The book.
The book, yeah.
Yeah. I read that and I'm like, oh man, like all this other stuff happens. I never read any of this stuff. I was just captivated.
Yeah.
Very cool book. Like a series of short stories that move past like all the movies and stuff like that.
Definitely.
Mine was Crimson Empire. I remember being like,
That was your
handed-
first read?
Yes, that was my first expanded
Like
read.
expanding the universe.
Yeah, so that was like 1997, and I remember a buddy of ours was like, "Here, you need to read this," and I read it, and I was like, "Imperial Guards do that instead of just looking like giant red crayons in the background."
Instead of just
They
standing
have
there.
to go through what to get there?
Exactly. I mean, it was such a great, like, I mean, I think it was 5 or 6 issues, but like, it was just a story of one guy going for revenge for Emperor Palpatine. You're like, what? But you totally felt for the guy, and it was just such a great read.
Mine was Young Jedi Knights, the Shards of Alderaan.
I totally read that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was like a little mini book, right?
Yeah, all three of the kids went to the asteroid field left over from Alderaan to take a piece of it to give to Leia. Then they got kidnapped by Boba Fett.
Nice.
I read
Such an EU story, old EU story.
YA.
Isn't that somewhere in the new, or in that series where like Jason accidentally cuts off
Tenel Ka's arm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was
you're
awesome.
like, oh, this is fun. Whoa, that just happened.
Yeah. For like books geared towards like younger kids, those books were pretty okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had to deal with her having that one arm through the rest of all those stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jason's like, oh, I feel so sorry. Let's get married, maybe.
I can make it up to you.
Although I do enjoy, like, she had one of the cooler lightsabers. Didn't she make it out of a Rancor?
A Rancor
too?
claw, yeah.
A Rancor claw. Yeah.
Oh, that was so cool.
I think my first one was I think it was just Dark Forces, just the original game
okay.
on PC.
Yeah.
That was so weird because I'm like, this is a Star Wars game, but
But Doom.
does it matter? I remember I'm like, all right, so someone made a Star Wars shooting game, but then like I started like getting into it. I'm like, Kyle Katarn, what's going?
Right.
Oh my God, he stole the Death Star planes. That's how that went down.
Yeah, but everybody stole the Death Star.
Yeah.
At one point, yeah, those went through a couple characters.
Yep.
And
I don't know
Solo
if you've
children
ever
got
did you ever
kidnapped.
read the Kyle Katarn like trade paperback novels?
No,
There
no,
was
I
like
did not.
3 that they made, and I was only ever able to find 2 in hardcover, and like the third one's lost to me. I can't even find it on eBay.
Were those based on Dark Forces or like the new Jedi Order?
I think it was Dark Forces.
Dark Forces.
Yeah, it was based on Dark Forces, and good luck finding them, man. I still haven't really been able to like finish the story because I can't find it.
I think I saw an artwork. Just it was a panel from it one time, and it was like just a picture of Kyle Katarn from the back, but they actually drew him as if he was actually lugging around all that gear. So he's got like 6 rocket launchers and just belts of grenades. Like he's just carrying around tons and tons of weaponry. I'm like, that is so freaking cool.
Yeah, I think Greg Hilbrandt like painted the covers of that. The only reason I know that is because of old like Masterpiece Marvel cards.
Didn't he fight that one guy who had the band around his eyes?
Jarek.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing one of those. Dorman did a couple covers of those, where he's actually fighting him with like a yellow lightsaber or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
He was a Miraluka, right?
He was a Miraluka, which brings us back to Knights of the Old Republic 2, which is the best.
Well, those were introduced in Tales of the Jedi, I think.
Oh, were they really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That wasn't-
because
oh,
they have like cloth bandages over their eyes because they're born without eyes and they like see everything through
They
the
can
force.
see through the force,
which is such
foresight.
a freaking cool idea.
Very neat. All right, so moving on a little bit from the EU universe, let's talk about, since this is a comic book podcast, let's talk a little bit about the Marvel comics that have been like relaunching lately. Obviously, let's talk about the main title, Star Wars. Like, what do you guys think of it? Have you read it? What
Yeah,
do you guys think?
I think we've all read all of it.
Yeah, we have.
the three of us. Are you all the way?
I've read a
through?
little.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still kind of burned from Dark Horse, like losing it and all that history going out the window.
You're probably gonna continue to get burned if you're in these. They're
safe.
They're non-consequential.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're very safe. Right now, it's just antics with the main trio. Sometimes running into Darth Vader, and sometimes fighting stormtroopers.
I mean, the biggest things that happened were like Han Solo has a wife, I guess,
That's so stupid.
which didn't really pan out. When they explained it, you're like, okay, and then that was it.
That comic ended with it just you're supposed to go like what, and you're like, oh, in 3 issues it's not going to matter because he totally doesn't have a wife because Empire Strikes Back happened. So
Yeah, but for the most part, they are very kind of playing it safe, not really introducing.
There were a handful of really
Is
good
there
issues,
what's
though.
holding you to collect it? Just because of it's Star Wars and
We gotta
continuing
know.
forward?
Yeah.
pretty much.
Unfortunately,
It's a comment, and some level of me does love everything, but I've been using the continuity reboot as an example. It's like, you know what, I can get it all this time.
right?
You
Oh,
know,
I gotcha.
And I've done it. I've got all the novels so far, mostly crap. I've got all the comics so far, mostly crap.
Yeah, the best part
Well,
about
that's something to look forward to for everyone that wants to read.
the best part about
Come on down.
the best part
Get
about the
your
new
cred.
canon.
shining
I am
endorsement.
not being helpful. For the Heroes Edge podcast. That being said, Blake, I'm in here, giving you $10 every couple
anything
weeks.
you
for every
like?
single one.
Anything you
no,
like about the new Star Wars series?
I'm being way too cynical, honestly.
Yeah.
It's enjoyable for what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be a liar.
good?
I think
For the few,
The Lando art was really good.
Yeah.
everything about Lando was good.
Yeah.
So that's your favorite book right now is Lando?
Well, that was just a mini series.
It was only 5 issues.
5
but
issues.
It was really
like
good.
the Leia one was 5, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Lando was good though. It was well written. It was a cool story. The writers knew how to write for Lando
Okay.
and give him good dialogue, and we got to know more about Lobot, which was awesome.
Okay.
Like just finding out about weird background characters from Empire and in the new canon. It's cool to see that kind of stuff.
Yeah, any real usable new information is good.
That's what we all want, I think.
You know what I
right?
mean? Yeah.
You know? And when in this new canon, it feels like they're playing it increasingly safe, probably because the story group doesn't really know where these movies are going, what they're going to touch. So it is a bit frustrating.
It's kind of like Darren said, they're probably given points where they're like, hey, these are lines you're not going to cross.
They could
At
be.
this point, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, on top of all that, all these comics take place in between movies. So there's not much that can happen.
That's
That's groundbreaking because you already know what's going to happen a few months later
That's
when
my-
the next movie starts.
That's my problem with the Clone Wars too. Is okay. Here's Ahsoka. Here's Asajj Ventress. Here's Obi-Wan. Here's Anakin. Well, new characters. Guess what? They're not around for Revenge of the Sith. So, I'm not too concerned about getting invested in them at the beginning. At least they did manage to make Ahsoka cool, but it's kind of the same story with these in between movie comics. In the Vader series, and I don't know if you read it, but it's there's like 9 substitute Vaders that the Emperor is trying to train, and how much
It's like it's a villain of the week situation.
and how
Oh,
much
okay.
can any of them matter? Because Empire Strikes Back happened,
Yeah.
and none of
Yeah.
them were mentioned, none of them were talked about. I just don't like when I know that I don't need to get invested in these guys because they're not kind of in it for the long haul.
Sure.
Because they can't be.
That's understandable. I really like, if we want to move on to Vader, though, the Dr. Aphra character that they introduced is pretty freaking cool.
Just rename the comic to Aphra.
Yeah, they should because she's really cool. She's, I guess, like a rogue archaeologist is how she's described, even though she hasn't done too much archaeology in it. But she's basically a female Han Solo in that comic. And I think probably the coolest thing they did was when they did the Vader Down event, they crossed Star Wars and Vader. She kind of fought Han Solo, and it was just really like enjoyable dialogue. And
I liked all of Vader Down. I saw a lot of people who were pretty indifferent about it, just on some of the expanded universe.
I think it helped
everything, but I thought it was great.
It really helped the Star Wars arc too, which was like playing it safe and not doing much, and like bringing that character in there and kind of boosting that storyline really helped out.
I thought it was gonna be kind of kind of in your face, like, oh look, it's Vader's droids and Luke's droids meeting each other. How fun is it? No, it was fun. I enjoyed every aspect of it. I went into it being very cynical, and I enjoyed every issue of Vader Down.
And the evil droids that Aphra has that are like basically 2 HK-47s from Knights of the Old Republic are also
cool.
Very awesome.
Yeah, just HK-47, but in an astro droid.
Yeah,
suit blowing people up.
Yeah,
I really liked in the earlier issues of watching Vader slowly figure out who Luke is.
That was cool. Yeah,
that was the best part of that.
It's mostly within the first 5 issues or so.
Those 2 books ended really, really cool because both books ended in the exact same way, and it was with Vader crushing the glass of the bridge of the Star Destroyer, just because he's pissed off. If you read only Star Wars, you're just like, oh, Vader's pissed off because I think it's like you finally figured out who the rebels are. Mm-hmm. If you read Vader, you find out that he's really pissed off because he knows that Luke's his son. So if you follow both of them, it's a huge payoff. But one or the other, it works too.
They also did a good job showing the original trilogy side by side with the prequels in the scenes where you see Vader remembering Padme as he's kind of losing it.
Anything that makes the prequels look better is impressive.
That
cool.
part, that part in Shattered Empire where Leia and whoever Leia went with, they went to Naboo, and she went into the hangar where the Darth Maul fight happened, and she had a just kind of like a goosebumps like flashback. Yeah. Like she's walking into the door, and then it's just boom, she sees Darth Maul. I'm like, that's great. That is so great. That she just
I wonder if that's like kind of any taste of things to come, or why she saw that. Maybe because it was genes and past stuff, or
the way I read it in the book was that when you're reading it, the viewer sees Darth Maul. I didn't think she saw him. I thought she just kind of felt like something was wrong.
Sure.
And then in that panel, you kind of see his eyes, but
she knows something's wrong. She
just kind of had a bad feeling walking into the room.
Well, maybe it was his forced spirit, because that's technically. Well, as of the Clone Wars, that's not where he died, but
that's
true.
Well, I've heard rumor that he's going to be showing up in Rebels.
Huh. He is in
Rebels.
That's just happening.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's promotional footage of him out there, hood down. It's just Darth Maul.
Well, there you go.
Wow, okay.
That'll actually be next Wednesday.
Yeah.
They'll show him.
Oh, I think it's
9 p.m. Tune in.
It's this Wednesday.
This Wednesday.
Yeah.
Central
time, 9 p.m.
That was kind of a bummer with that season, how that second trailer was so good, but everything in it's from the very last episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Everything. Yeah.
But,
so if you guys, going back to the comics for a second, if you guys were to recommend like one or any of them to like an old timer, what would you recommend? Anyone would you recommend?
Yeah, recommending a comic book to kind of an old time Star Wars fan, especially one of the old EU, Lando. It's a 5-series arc. You can get it in trade. It feels like the old expanded universe. It's not obnoxious, putting Lando in stupid situations. It feels natural. It flows. That stuff with Lobot is awesome. You kind of learn why Lobot is weird and just
right,
kind of hanging out. I can't recommend Lando enough, and I think Shattered Empire was awesome too. It was a.
It didn't tell us much, but it was fun. It was cool.
Because I've been complaining a lot about how these comics aren't consequential. Shattered Empire really wasn't that consequential, but it was very fun. You know, then I think the artwork was amazing, and
It was very good artwork.
Definitely
yeah.
the best artwork.
That
I
was
think.
actually like, you know, besides me being a fan of Dotson, which is why I picked up Leia, that was the only other Star Wars book I picked up.
What'd you
Yeah.
think of it?
I actually enjoyed it quite a bit.
Yeah.
The artwork, and even though there wasn't a lot of tie-in to the movie, there was very like little tiny subtle things that kind of kept you reading.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, okay, well, that's not really that significant, but geez, I want anything before Force Awakens come out. Give me anything.
That was
you
a
know?
big part of it too. Yeah, I mean, it
imagine.
had me, you know, hook, line, and sinker. I'm like, oh, the next one's gonna pay off. Next one's gonna pay off, and it never really did. But
But it held you holding on until
Yeah,
that damn movie came out.
I enjoyed it. I enjoed it the whole ride.
I really want to know what's up with that tree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something going.
Some kind
Poe
of-
is not just the best pilot ever, growing up next to a space force tree his whole life.
As weird as that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say the same thing, Lando and Shattered Empire. But I would just read them all because you don't want to get left behind.
Now's
dangerous.
Now's the
Yeah, 'cause
opportunity.
now that
you
they-
can keep up now. You can do it.
Now that they scrapped the old canon, which is terrible, at least you can keep up with the current one if you try.
Yeah.
so if you want to delve into your psychosis, just buy everything.
Yeah.
And lose all your money and have your spouses hate you. Yeah, and those two, I mean, if you want to hit like the broad points, I guess Star Wars and Vader as a combo would be good to get. We're getting a Han Solo miniseries in a little bit that's
Okay.
written by Marjorie Liu, who does Monstrous for Image.
Okay. Blake's
also-
a big fan of that one. He's recommended it quite a bit.
I love it too, yeah. And Poe miniseries that's coming out, which should be nice because
I'm a big Poe Dameron fan.
That's
I
not
like
me.
him, man.
That's just going to be going on for however long Poe sells for.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, they're not discontinuing that
I
one.
actually
That's a
might
good
pick that
idea.
up. What does anybody know who's like writing it or drawing it right now?
Someone good. I remember.
Oh,
I was told to
like
be
that.
excited about
Yeah.
it.
It might be the guy that did Lando. I can't remember though. Don't quote me on that.
Somebody
Charles
that was
Soule, that
involved
would
in
be really
Lando
cool.
is involved in Poe.
Yeah.
I just don't know.
I would kind of be interested in seeing like a little bit more from the Empire side beside Vader, you know?
That would be cool.
Like if, I mean, you know, obviously we've seen a lot of Boba Fett stuff, but I'm surprised they haven't released a Boba Fett book or anything.
I think they're using him in the movies and they're afraid
They're
to touch him.
keeping like
They're
stuff
not-
sealed.
They're not allowed.
But even like, you know, Imperial Guard stuff or even like,
yeah.
That's
inner working Empire
Lando.
stuff.
Lando had some really cool,
Okay.
not so much kind of Empire as the War Machine, but a lot of actual Emperor specific stuff. The plot
Yeah.
of it is actually Lando needs to steal Emperor Palpatine's yacht, but he doesn't know it's his yacht.
Okay.
It's
That was
awesome.
a good series.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Did he win it in a sabacc tournament?
Yeah, it opens up with him and the Emperor just at a table, just at a bar.
Sabacc.
Lando's swindling Sheev Palpatine.
No, don't say Sheev.
His name's Sheev. It's canon.
Yeah.
So weird.
Is it really?
Yeah.
In Tarkin, there's a throwaway line where Tarkin and the Emperor are talking, and he's like, thanks, Sheev. And you're like, what are those letters in that order? why is he calling him Sheev? Oh my God. what's his
Sheev.
name?
Okay.
Sheev the son
Sounds
of
like
Palpatine.
Gillette Sensor 4 Sheev.
Exactly.
So does that mean that Plagueis is no longer the Plagueis novel is no longer canon?
Yeah.
It's not.
Plagueis is a guy, but the novels, that
Oh, that was such a good book.
was a good book.
was good.
I read that really late in the game, but
Yeah.
it was a good book.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk movies. Favorite all-time Star Wars movie?
Empire.
Yeah, I'd say the same thing. Sometimes A New Hope. I go back and forth. Just depends on what mood I'm in.
Mood's a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'm in an Attack of the Clones mood.
That's-
Somehow.
Wow.
That is a,
it's usually after 12 beers.
many a night we've been forced to stay awake
Let's
and
put
watch
it
Attack
this
of the
way.
Clones with
If
Jimmy.
you could only have one.
Empire. Yeah, and Empire is one that, like, no matter what, I enjoy it.
Is it because it's so dark or gritty?
It's totally. I mean, it's totally just the characters. A New Hope, sets it up. You got Luke. He's going to be the hero that that develops and grows and defeats the bad guy. You got Han is like scoundrel with a heart of gold. But in these movies, you really see them, you understand them, and the dialogue and the writing is just perfect and back and like the way they interact with each other, I think is the biggest thing.
It was a movie that was ahead of its time, just structurally and writing wise. It took so many chances and did so much weird stuff. Like when they talk about episode 8 right now and saying how Rian Johnson wants to make it weird and cool and interesting, I think they mean Empire, like they want it to feel like Empire.
That's my anticipation and hope that, like, you know, Force Awakens was just a setup movie, and this next movie is gonna hopefully blow people away.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's going to be weird, you know.
That's what I'm telling everybody anyway. I'm like,
That's what we hope.
It's just a setup movie. Relax.
Yeah.
Relax.
But yeah, Empire has so many good scenes, like the asteroid field of Han trying to fix the Falcon, like while they're flying through it. It's so good.
That's the best part.
It's
Yeah.
it's so
Space
good.
Worm.
Yeah, and it
Everything about
and it ends on such a downer. It's just so.
But it's not overbearing. I mean, it's not like
It's
totally
yeah.
like, just,
But it's just
super
it's,
depressing.
It's gutsy, you know.
That's what life is, a series of down notes.
Yeah, exactly.
No, Empire was
We're
a
not stealing any lines here.
No.
really weird movie to make after you make A New Hope. They could have
is,
just done it again,
yeah.
especially in 70s, early 80s. Oh, just do it again.
Yeah.
Be safe.
Well, there was
have
never,
another Death
there was
Star.
never supposed to be a sequel to A New Hope
Yeah, well,
right from the start.
Jorge found a way.
You could tell the way they finished it was like
They had
clearly over.
They had Vader fly off into the distance.
Well, he had started scripts, but
he didn't plan
never
on it.
betted on
Yeah.
it being that
and
well
nobody
received.
clearly nobody did.
Yeah.
That's why he wanted to have an award ceremony type ending. The
Yeah,
whole thing gets wrapped up.
but yeah,
Darren, are you an Empire guy?
Yeah, it goes between that and Jedi, but Empire has the best fight scene in it for me.
Yeah.
Which is Yoda versus R2D2 for the pen.
Nobody expected you to say that one.
mine.
Well,
That
seriously,
damn
like,
pen light.
like watch it. I mean, it's like crazy little like green dude shows up out of the swamp and he starts digging through your shit, and then your droid's like, you know what? Hey, that's our pen light. I'm gonna take it back. And then he starts like, and then the Muppet starts hitting the fucking tin can with a stick, and he's like, "Rrr." It's like the
Minor,
best part.
I'll help you not.
Like you don't expect it.
And Luke's just whining, come guys,
Yeah.
making a mess.
Oh, my
No,
ship's
it's-
stuck in the swamp.
It's a movie that I love the most, like as a kid, for scenes like that, for
Yeah.
like Yoda stuff, and but then as I got older, I was like, this is just a damn good movie.
And you know, you watch like I remember watching episode 1 and I'm like, oh, they're doing Puppet Yoda again. That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Because I mean, Frank Oz really just knocked it out of the park with a fucking puppet.
Yeah,
It was a very one-on-one scene. They were saying that Mark Hamill, when he was acting during that scene, he had to do it for 2 months. Towards the end of the 2 months, he forgot the damn thing was a puppet because
Yeah.
it was so
Right?
lifelike and realistic
Which is-
during the acting scenes.
yeah, the highest compliment.
I mean, and then you get episode 2 and 3, and then it's CG, and it
Yeah.
kind of lost it.
Well, I mean,
The puppet in episode 1 was pretty bad though for
why
whatever
did they
reason.
give Yoda meth?
Right?
It's like Yoda went
why
to
did
like Ice-T's barber shop.
Yeah, it was
Just have
for seemingly
just
no
take
reason.
The Empire Strikes Back Yoda, put a new coat on him.
yeah.
Who said
coat on
we
him.
got to make a new Yoda?
Yeah.
Why, George?
Yeah,
We have one.
Well, why did you hire Jake Lloyd when like you had like Haley Joel Osment at the time, who's like, oh, he just did Sixth Sense and it just was awesome. Yo, shut up.
oh my god.
Jeez, that kid was so bad. I mean, he was like when it says in the script like excited like scream yippee, you don't say yippee.
Oh
He's
my
like,
god.
yippee! Oh, I want to kill you.
I
you
really
an
like to
angel?
imagine that he didn't say yippee. He was just like, oh yeah, or something. And George's like, no, you gotta say yippee.
Well, yeah, that's because
Jake says it on the program.
I mean, you have Natalie Portman, this amazing actress, and then you have like who played Obi-Wan again?
Ewan
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 McDonald.
McGregor. Did anyone see Train Spotting?
Yeah, it was
Like that was
great.
such a messed up movie, and he was so good in it. And then you take him and you put him in this movie, and you're like,
and then you have Liam Neeson, which is one of the few people in the world that can somehow read Star Wars dialogue and make it sound okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Thank God, I guess.
This could
Yeah.
be
Saving grace for episode 1, I think. Really.
Yeah.
the prequels could be a whole series of podcasts we do.
Yeah.
Whole depressing
Did you guys-
long series.
Who did you guys watch the Plinkett reviews, the Red Letter Media, where it's basically just like the 3-hour breakdowns on why you should hate the prequels,
Yes.
why they're bad?
yeah.
What do you think about those? What did they?
Some of them make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't blame the actors.
No.
You know what I mean? I don't even blame the writing. It was almost like the delivery. It was almost like
I think it was just direction. It was bad
Yeah.
directing. It's hard to,
those
especially with
actors, like Ewan McGregor, like he was my favorite part of the 3 movies.
Well, I
honestly.
remember-
I liked Obi-Wan.
I remember when we first saw episode 1, we waited in line to get tickets for like 5 hours. You broke some poor little kid's lightsaber. Remember that? And
Don't
we-
step if you can't deliver. That's all I'm saying.
just a little backstory on this. Like
Yeah,
a friend of
what's
ours was like, "Oh, lightsaber fight with this little kid. Yay, it's fun." Like the little kid would like hit her in the leg. Like, "Oh, you got me in the leg." This guy comes over with his Vader saber. The kid has like the new Qui-Gon one.
I'm gonna have to cut you off there, Darren. I was just
Is this end with you just assaulting a kid at the Phantom Menace?
Actually, was waiting in line to get tickets for the Phantom Menace.
emotions were high. Mistakes were
I mean,
made.
basically, the kid's like, he's like, "Yay, I'm a Jedi," and he's like, "I will show you the dark side." It was like, but yeah, it was pretty brutal. Anyway,
throw me under the bus. Every time, like I meet a new girl, he tells me how I killed a duck in 6th grade. You know, it's like relax.
you didn't kill
Relax.
one, you killed like 8. Anyway, back on topic. But you know, so you wait in line, you get the tickets, and then like you go see the movie, you have to wait in line again, and then like it's basically like, oh, there's a bunch of console scenes, and there are these vaguely racist alien Nemoidians, and like,
What the Jedi you say?
I mean, like I was into it, and then
Yes.
At the
Still
time, I had an
coming
Asian girlfriend, and she was pissed. She's like, "I don't think I like that Star Wars movie because it's honest."
She was basically every American in the country saying that. But
well, I mean, you go into the movie, and then they have Jar Jar, like. Was he like the special needs kid that they just kind of kicked out of there, and they're like, "Well, you know what? We're just gonna bring you with," or could Qui-Gon have just like taken him into a bush and
Kyle
killed
and
him and been like, "Oh, the droid did
The
it."
sad part is, at the end of the movie, we were like,
Yeah.
"Oh, this was great," because we wanted it to be
Yeah.
so
it took me
bad.
like
we
6 or
wanted it
7
to be
years to
so bad.
finally
Well,
accept it.
we were pretty young. I loved it for years. I
Yeah.
still kind of do.
Oh, I saw that damn thing like
It's a love-hate.
6 times in a theater.
It's a love-hate relationship,
Yeah.
totally.
I still think it's a bad. It's a weird opinion, but I think that's the best prequel because
I will agree with you on that.
Which one?
I do
episode
too.
1.
Yeah,
Because for a large part, I think because it's a lot of real sets
yeah.
and it's no CG, and you have like better acting, sans Jake Lloyd, just throughout, and the story feels just more like
Have
Star
you ever
Wars.
seen the Phantom Edit?
Yeah.
Where they just basically take Jar Jar out,
Yeah.
and it's a great movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a great movie, but it's better than
It's better than 2
Yeah.
and 3 to me.
Right.
Yeah.
It absolutely has the best villain of any of them.
Yeah.
Hands down, yeah.
Talking about
What are you talking about?
Darth Maul had horns and looked evil, and that was it.
Yeah, and he was
No, but Jar Jar is the one that actually passed the law, to make the Clone Wars really
he's the
happen.
biggest
You
villain.
you guys would rather watch Darth Maul do nothing and occasionally whisper than Sheev be awesome in Revenge of the Sith?
You think that was awesome?
Revenge of the Sith. I mean, okay, there's that scene where like Anakin's like in his room with Padme and he's just like leaning and she's
boy.
like brushing her hair and she's like, "Do you think I'm beautiful?" Like, and it's like, wow, Natalie, like her delivery of those lines make me cringe.
It's bad.
Like
It's
it's
very
beyond.
bad.
And it's
And
not
let's
their,
face it, come on, pregnant. She had sunken cheeks. She looked like a damn skeleton.
but it's not their fault. Those lines.
No,
That's just
no.
horrible dialogue. It's the worst dialogue that's been written in years.
Yeah,
it's
but if
so bad.
If we're talking about villains, I don't understand how you could like.
We're all Star Wars fans, right? Just to reiterate. That's
such a complicated question.
We all love
you
this stuff.
just-
we just
Yeah.
love to hate it too.
Are you talking about Palpatine throwing those little chairs around him?
They weren't
And
little.
Well,
And he's
let's get to his
laughing.
Are you
saber
talking about the
fighting.
main guy of the movie just throwing little chairs around?
Or when he falls over his desk?
Oh, that Benny Hill moment.
Oh my
It's not like he tripped over it.
Oh well, come on. I mean, when he's fighting, like the fight scene is like him going,
Yeah.
It's terrible. That's
Absolutely.
"Oh
terrible.
God, it hurt." I mean, Mace Windu.
No. I'm
I
talking.
remember Sam Jackson saying in an interview, like, "I just told George Lucas I didn't want to die like a bitch." Oh, I hate to say it, Sam, you died like a bitch.
Ian McDermott
I'm-
had
I'm-
like
I'm
a
talking-
butt rash ass face going
I'm talking
on.
about like the parts like where he reveals to Anakin that he's Darth Sidious.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I
Those-
love
yeah.
when Mace Windu and the Jedi like confront him and they're like, "You're under arrest." He's like, I'm the fucking Senate, dude. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, and then they fight, and it's like,
No, the fighting is god awful. But anytime Palpatine's just being evil, the Darth Plagueis story is great.
that's
that
my
is
favorite
really
part of the
cool.
movie.
The opera
That
scene or whatever.
Yeah.
That part, and when like Obi-Wan and Anakin are just going crazy on Mustafar, that was great.
The delivery right before the fight sucked ass.
And right after.
Because it like
Right after's pretty bad.
he
too.
says like, you will not do this. Or, like he has to he reiterates like 3 times the same damn line.
it's-
My new empire.
It's basically just telling the audience what's happening instead of like writing it through dialogue.
I
It's
know
like,
it was unnecessary.
here's the next plot point.
I think there was an accidental visual symbol in there, and that was having the sun like set behind Obi-Wan. Wasn't intentional. It couldn't have been.
Yeah.
But
I mean, really, my favorite part of Revenge of the Sith is when like Obi-Wan mentions or they're talking about the battles of the Clone Wars, and they're like, "Oh, Master Voss did this." I was like, "Oh, they just said Quinlan Voss's
yeah.
name. Oh, that's awesome." And I'm done.
We were happy for 3 seconds and then it was over. My biggest problem with that movie is that the whole thing hinges on this like emotional payoff that was never developed by any of these characters. Like it just fails.
Oh, and let's
because of
not
that.
forget the like the medical droid that's like, "Oh, for some reason she's dying, but we don't know what it is because I'm not programmed."
all this
She died from love. She died from a force choke.
we've never seen this. We've never seen a human die before. It's like what I think it ultimately boiled down to. It's like this isn't shaped like us. What do you want us to do?
It was a broken
Why
heart.
did they take her there? Just
throw her in.
like 2 wise Jedi masters are like, "Oh, we're gonna take her to this point."
Kyle has the answer.
It was a broken heart. Clearly stated in the movie.
Oh, well, I'm sorry that
She died from a broken
they
heart.
should have
That's canon.
explained to us that this droid was programmed with like 80s like metal, like ballad logic.
I am TC-14. Like I don't know what broken heart means.
And that was because her husband
And how to
died, who
hear
she
it.
didn't even like.
Ugh.
Never at any point even
Stu-
appeared to like him. At any.
We can't keep trying to rationalize this horrible movie.
Trying to figure it out my whole life, and that's why I get drunk and watch Attack of the Clones because I gotta figure it out.
Like, why would you have this amazing bounty hunter like Jango Fett who's like, "Oh, the most important thing in my life is my clone child that was cloned for me and my money." And then he's like, "Oh, hey, we're on Geonosis and the Jedi are attacking. There's Mace Windu, the most badass of the Jedi. I'm gonna go kill him." and he's like, "Yay! Oh, I got trampled.
Get him, Dad! Get him!"
Jango Fett was so cool until they just wouldn't let him be cool anymore.
Yeah.
Like he was awesome in that
Yeah.
movie.
That's not how you be a bodyguard, though.
He wasn't a bodyguard.
you-
He was
don't
standing. He was
jetpack
standing
away.
next to Dooku, and then just leaves.
He was a mercenary, basically.
Why was he even there? It's like, "Oh, here's your money," and then I'll be like, "Oh, you got something going here."
He was there
Oh
'cause
shit! Well, you guys have fun with that. I'm gonna go.
I don't understand why he didn't just leave at that
Yeah.
point. He already did his job.
Jango, no, he didn't because he hired Zam Wassell to do his job for him after he was hired to do a job.
He's a busy guy.
Yeah, but at that point,
He's not a busy guy. He followed her around and then did the job
but,
himself
okay,
later.
So he was a mercenary contractor, basically.
I think he just did that.
But he
to
was-
hedge
he
his
was-
bets, and it paid off.
He
I mean,
was
realistically-
Dooku hired him, and he was like a micromanager following Zam around as she tried to escape after trying to murder Padme with insects, with spiders.
Here's a Kyber dart.
and then Django was like, "You fucked up. I'm just gonna shoot you." Really could have done that myself with my rocket
when you get
launcher
to
through the window.
Geonosis and you see, oh, well, you already got her tied up to the pillar, and the 2 Jedi. Oh, well, you got this. You got the. All right.
He probably
well,
just should have left.
maybe head home now, you guys. Oh, here comes some Jedi. Let me
He
get
just
back
really
to my
enjoys,
spaceship.
public executions. I guess he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna stick around." Boba.
There's something
people
for you
die.
to learn, son.
Jango Fett did hate the Jedi, so it makes sense he would have wanted to stay and watch him die.
Yeah, but really, you're gonna like just, oh, hey, there's a bunch of them, and well, there's Mace Windu. I'm gonna go after the guy with the purple saber, the only one that has a different color than green and blue.
I don't want to get too much into the prequels because
It's a good idea.
It's kind of my whole life. But,
we already have. It's
here's
been
my-
like nice 25
You just
minutes.
mentioned how like 200 Jedi show up. Mm-hmm. That was a really bad plan. They couldn't have waited 10 minutes for the army to show up.
Well, if we want to talk
There's
about
10,000
bad anything-
Jedi in the galaxy, and they just sent 200 of them to die because nobody texted Yoda to find out when he was showing up.
Well, I mean, they're
ridiculous.
like, oh, the power of the dark side is corrupting our ability to see the future, apparently.
Yeah, there's your
Like
answer,
Mace
but-
Windu's like, I'm going to sit on this couch and meditate and maybe figure something out. No.
Like, who is that Jedi that just jumped up in front of Jango Fett, got shot because he forgot how to use a lightsaber.
Dead
once he was
Jedi
in-
number 2.
Yeah.
I mean,
Eth Koth is his name.
No,
That wasn't Ethan.
no, that was
wasn't
Ethan
sure?
Koth.
No,
Yeah,
it
that
was the
wasn't
big
Koth.
bodybuilder dude.
With the thing on his.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the Pompadour.
Pompadour.
Pompadour
That's
Jedi,
that's
the
a
alien
that's a
Pompadour
Lost World
Jedi.
reference. in the
Sorry.
Star Wars podcast.
Sorry, podcast people.
So, I mean, obviously, we all know that, like, there's a lot of problems with the prequels. And, you know,
skimming the
moving
surface.
forward,
You are being
I think
so
everyone
polite to
on the
them right
internet
now.
knows everything that we're pretty much talking about.
Yeah, this isn't new information.
This is this is just reiterating in, like, you know, our versed lingo.
yeah.
But moving forward, what do you guys think of The Force Awakens? Opinions when you first got out of the theater?
That's a tricky question because I just didn't say anything for a while.
Yeah.
It was I mean I think we all really liked it kind of walking out, but it wasn't until like the second or third time we saw we were like this is kind of the real thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't view it objectively at first after waiting that long.
I was the same
But-
way. I was really quiet. We went with a giant group of people,
Yeah.
and a lot of people had comments and stuff like that, and I was just in my own world, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you've been burned like 3 times previous, you know. And then it's like, you don't burn me once.
Am I wrong here? Did I
Shame on
see what I
you.
saw?
Burn me
start
2,
wrong?
3, maybe 4 times. Shame on me.
You know, like 2 years earlier, I mean, if you follow the Clone Wars, R2D2 was going on an adventure with a literal frog,
Yeah.
a talking frog. So you're like, what is Star Wars anymore? What
Yeah.
am I here? What am I doing? No, it was great.
Yeah.
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 It was a good movie.
So, okay, so yeah, after those 3 times that you actually seen it 4 times.
8.
Okay. So 8 times. You came to the conclusion that you liked it?
Yeah, it's a Star Wars movie.
J.J. Abrams knows how to make a good action movie. I mean, the movie itself is definitely a bit safe. Like it has everybody on the internet has written about how it hits a lot of the same story beats as A New Hope.
Repetitive a little bit.
Sure, yeah, but
It's like poetry.
at the end of the day, it does a lot of cool things. It's enjoyable as hell. It's got some great scenes. That like long tracking shot of like Finn fighting on the ground and Poe like in the air in the X-wing. Like,
Absolutely.
Both. Oh my god, it's so good. Like things like that like really saved that movie for me. Any problems I have with it are just way in the back seat to everything good it did.
Want to talk about Rathars?
It's too early, Jim.
I didn't like the Rathars.
Yeah, the goofy pimple tentacle monsters, but you know, it's just what
I also didn't like.
didn't bug me that much.
I didn't.
Oh, you guys didn't like the big monster scene with Han Solo?
I
Yeah.
looked out of place in that movie.
Yeah,
You nothinged it?
yeah, out of place is probably fair.
Yeah, but I also really, even the first time watching it, didn't like Han entering hyperspace from inside that hangar.
Why do you do it?
There's no reason to do that. It could have got away just by flying out of the hangar. And they make a point in all of the EU and other Star Wars movies of hyperspace being very,
Dangerous.
dangerous and
It was just pointing in the right direction somehow.
and how you can't just fly into it.
Right. In the first, I think it's the first movie. It takes them like 10 minutes to plot the course.
It's not like Ducks
and
and
he makes a
Crops.
point of
And yeah, and it-
Well, this is Han Solo, though. He's constantly doing things like
Right.
a lot of people don't do.
That's the point. I mean, I think that's what the point you're kind of making, Zach. Like, you know, okay, yeah, there's small issues like that, but ultimately, you got a fun Han Solo moment.
Yeah.
I don't ask questions. We're just going.
Right.
yeah.
Get off my Falcon.
Get out of my yard!
But no, I mean, just the fun moments are totally worth, you know, some lapses in logic.
And yeah, and the death of Han Solo was handled in a pretty cool way, especially to make it like emotionally impactful when you know almost nothing about his son or Kylo Ren or like any of that. Like to make you care right then, like without any of the backstory is
Yeah, when he
impressive.
started screaming like Ben,
Oh, it's
I
so
was just
good.
like, whoa, man.
Yeah, it's great.
So that's pretty cool.
That part didn't hit me until Chewie freaked out.
Yeah.
yeah,
Chewie
that
saw it
is-
happen, and then he's like, "Duh, duh, duh," and he's just going nuts, throwing grenades.
Why
I
didn't you rip an arm
automatically
off
like
a
started
stormtrooper?
bringing it
Yeah.
back to like my father's relationship with me. I'm just like, man, I can't even handle this movie.
I brought it back to my relationship with Han Solo. You know, it's weird. A lot of people, like, you know, think it's insane, but you know, it's It's Han Solo.
Yeah.
I think my only problem with that scene was that I wanted to see Chewie go real crazy.
More
I wanted
crazy.
to see him just wreck some stormtroopers for
Yeah.
like 5
bust
minutes.
out that like Wookiee claw that they got. And just
Yeah,
start ripping
because
stuff
his
up.
best friend just died. I want to
Yeah.
see him just rage and just throw people around.
I think that if he didn't have some kind of past interaction, you know, with Kylo Ren,
yeah,
he probably would have made that like a chest shot or a headshot.
yeah.
There are a few actual comic strips I've seen online where they're like they show Wookiee's or Chewie's like relationship with Kylo Ren as he's growing up.
Yeah.
and he's
Yeah.
like Han Solo's like, oh, here's my son, and he's like lifting him up, and then he's a little older, he's got him on his shoulders, and then as he's getting older, the kid's getting more depressed.
Listening to Linkin Park.
Yeah, right. And he's like, hey, check out.
I know.
He's like, hey, Uncle Chewie, why don't you listen to my Chemical Romance CD? and then like, then he eventually goes off in the dark, and he's sitting there with like, he's got him like headshot, and then he's like, I can't do it, and then hits him in the chest, or in the side. I do like seeing a bowcaster actually.
Yeah, that was
It
good
did some
stuff.
damage
Yeah.
in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
It
I
was
remember.
sending Stormtrooper sprawl.
I remember like playing when we like used to play the old RPG game, and like they were like, "Oh, this is a bowcaster, and a Wookiee makes it, and it's like kind of a thing, and you know,
it's like
it's powerful."
2d12, and that's
right?
like how much.
And
it
then
does.
it's like, because if I'm right, and I don't know if it's still canon, but isn't it actually a coil it's firing? It's not
Yeah.
a blaster; it's a
Yeah,
coil.
it's
Yeah.
a real bolt. It's
Yeah.
a physical object. It's not just like a laser.
And the fact that Kylo Ren took that like straight in the side and was like, "I'm good. No, I'm not happy, but I'm good."
That point right there is like where, people start to realize I'm a lunatic, like where I start explaining to them, and it's like, no, Kylo Ren wasn't just a little whiner. He didn't just get beat by people. I'm like, here's my PowerPoint presentation on why, Kylo Ren wasn't a little baby. He got nailed, but
Yeah.
that thing was blowing up
Yeah.
stormtroopers.
Well,
Exactly.
not only that, but I'm sorry, but the emotional like tie after your watching your father just die because of the choice you made after that.
The novel,
And then,
yeah.
and then like you mentioned, taking that blaster bolt on the side. It's, dude, you're not going to be at the top of your game after that.
The novelization of The Force Awakens actually talks about that quite a bit. Like he just wasn't Kylo Ren anymore, fighting Rey and Finn.
Right.
After that,
He's
killed his dad.
Kylo Ren is an all around really cool villain. like
Oh,
especially like I want to bring up that scene where he's like punching himself in his wound to
Yeah.
make himself mad. What a cool idea.
And what
so
I
cool.
think people don't understand is that, like, throughout the entire movie, this guy has emotional issues.
Yeah.
He is an emotional, like,
He's a much
whirlwind
yeah.
of a character.
He's
you
a
know?
much more complex villain.
I mean, they can like, talk a bunch of trash and like how he's emo and blah 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 and all that.
Right.
But like dealing with the issues that he's dealt with, that hopefully we're going to see a little bit more.
Yeah.
As we've said, this is this is a trailblazing movie for things to come. We're gonna maybe see like a Kylo Ren that's more adept because he's supposed to go train with Snoke, right? At the end of that movie.
It's going to be like a perverse Empire Strikes Back situation. You got Luke learning from Yoda all the light side stuff. I think in Episode 8, it's just going to be like the same situation, but with Snoke, teaching Kylo Ren all this really weird stuff about the dark side.
Now, there's a lot of like speculation and controversy with Snoke. Do you think that there's any tie-ins with the Emperor? Do you think Plagueis? Do you think any of that stuff, or is he just like his own guy?
I think they don't even know. I
Yeah.
think everyone online is trying to figure out who he is, but I think Abrams left it up to Rian Johnson.
I got you. Like
To
it
fill
was a
in-
setup story, and
Yeah,
you do
and
what
he
you
could go
want.
whatever way he wants to. So all the speculation is useless because he might not even be fully realized yet.
And once that script was finalized, I think Ryan was just in the middle of writing 8 and 9.
Yeah.
So you're right. They had no idea. But it'll be interesting to see what they make of it.
Right.
It's far more intriguing to just have him be nothing. I don't want him to be, one of Palpatine's buddies. I don't want him to be Plague. It's just be this new guy who was just on the sidelines for however many years and ready to strike.
An interesting villain that seemingly they're setting up that he's outside the known galaxy, or at least has been there, is a really cool idea. Sort of a Yuzan Vong kind of thing.
Yeah, that's the only EU character that's been like mentioned to be outside the galaxy.
Right.
Yeah.
So, do you guys have like a particular favorite character from the new movie?
All of them.
They're all really good.
They were all enjoyable and fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like L.O. Asti, that X-Wing pilot with the awesome voice.
Oh yeah.
Even though he died like immediately.
It's such a bummer.
Yeah. He's like, but no damage.
But no damage. Yeah, he's just like, from a Nerf commercial.
He's like the Porkins
Yeah.
of like the new movie.
But he's got such a cool design. And yeah, I like that guy.
I thought Finn was great because he was able to actually be funny, but not
Not over the top.
stooge.
yeah, not where it ruins it.
His comedic timing was great.
Yeah,
It was a really cool take to see like from that standpoint, like a stormtrooper flipping out and defecting to the other side
Yeah.
because of what the Empire does.
All of the acting throughout the whole movie was incredible. Like how they cast some really good people and they all delivered. It's great.
Yeah, Rey was like a first timer, right?
Yep.
Daisy Ridley.
Yeah.
First thing she ever did.
Yeah.
Best smile in Hollywood, by the way.
She's adorable in the whole damn thing. The most adorable person ever to hold a lightsaber. Just want to kiss her like an uncle does on knees.
Oh my god. There are so many other ways to say that.
It's one of those things that once it came
Without
out,
being as creepy as I just said it,
No, it was good. It's
It's good.
I expected to enjoy it. I knew J.J. Abrams, and everybody involved was going to be like, we cannot make the Phantom Menace. I knew it was going to. I had no idea it was going to exceed my expectations.
well,
It totally
especially
did.
the amount of pressure he was under.
yeah.
Leading up to it, it got scary. Like,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, with
I was scared out of my mind.
with the rewrites and the Harrison Ford breaking his leg.
A lot of things were against it. A lot.
A lot of
Harrison
weird
Ford just being Harrison Ford was one of them.
Yep.
Carrie Fisher.
It's really cool that Carrie Fisher just wasn't weird.
One thing I
it up.
kind of thought was pretty humorous is that in the movie, you really you see Harrison Ford on screen with Carrie Fisher for the first time, and you're like, are they gonna kiss? and you're like, and he's like, oh, pat on the back, looking a little rough. So gonna sidestep this old attraction.
I saw a joke online. Someone was telling, they were talking about the movie, and they're like, "Yeah, it was really great." Carrie Fisher looked a little weird. They got to that castle, and then she came out, and she's like short and yellow, and
Yeah.
they had to CGI. They're like, "No, that was Maz." Oh, I thought it was Carrie Fisher. Movie makes more sense now.
Yeah, you said Admiral Akbar was gonna be in this movie.
I did want to see more of what else was going on in the galaxy at the time,
That's a very legitimate complaint.
politically and with just some of the regular citizens.
Yeah, and did they blow up Coruscant?
No.
No.
Okay.
Prime.
Okay.
Yes. They did, however, blow up all of basically the New Republic, which you never even got to
5
see.
planets.
Well,
Yeah.
I
That
did
was-
have my,
that did bother
my
me.
one little qualm. You really had to rebuild the Death Star?
That's
Yeah,
kinda-
well, that's part of the retreading
It's
stuff
like-
we've talked about. It's
That's-
I mean,
That's a
how much
shocking
money?
amount of it.
You had the
So
first
it's
Death
different
Star.
now. We built it into a planet.
yeah.
I mean, you had the
Starkiller-
first one, and it was like, hey, I built this Death Star. Oh, shit, a bunch of kids blew it up because we didn't cover exhaust port.
I mean, yeah.
but then it was like, let's build it again. So you spend even more money and do it, and they blow it up again. And now you're like, oh, we're going to build it out of a planet. How much money did they legitimately spend building that out of a planet?
I think Starkiller would not be a problem if it was actually more successful in this movie. Death Stars just go away.
Yeah,
they don't even notice them anymore. If Starkiller would have stuck around, if it would have blown up Hazian Prime in the Senate and then just left, and you have 2 more movies
Flew away.
where it's yeah, I mean, if you had 2 more movies where the Starkiller base is this actual invincible thing, it probably would have been too dark for the reboot.
It would have been
franchise.
cool when they finally took it down at some point.
It would have been so worth it at the end. I think they should have just crippled it. It didn't need to blow up.
They
Well, I
blew
mean,
up Starkiller
the
easier
real-
than anything.
The real truth
Yeah.
behind it is yeah, okay, if this farm boy from Tatooine wouldn't have stuck a photon torpedo into a 2-meter exhaust port and blown it up, it would have continued to blow planets up. That's why they made the second one. And if these damn rebels wouldn't come back and keep blowing up our space stations, it would continue to blow these planets up. So I can kind of see in the realm of the mind going well, you know, these super space stations are working. It's just these asses aren't.
We get them sometimes. Yeah.
They are working. It's just we're not defending these space stations properly.
Well, that's because you're putting all your money in the damn space station instead of like building up a decent fleet of Star Destroyers. They have like one.
I think, I mean, even just, you know, an out of universe explanation, the Death Star being the Death Star, you know, how do you create stakes higher than that? You know, Empire managed to do it, but Empire was like a personal story where Vader's just pissed off and hunting Han and wanting to get to Luke.
Right.
But you know, as far if you need like a galaxy-wide conflict, you know,
I think
how do you beat the Death Star?
Force Awakens would have been better if just a massive fleet attacked Hosnian Prime instead of a
or
super
something
weapon.
like
Would've
maybe
been
like
cool.
Darksaber, where it was not round.
Yeah.
Something slightly different. Yeah, would be nice.
Give us a galaxy gun.
When I was a kid, I really loved Darksaber. It was an awesome idea.
Yeah.
And it was slightly different how it like pulled the energy from the sun.
Yeah.
But could it move?
No,
Or was it
Yeah.
just a planet? It's like, oh, well, we're going to waste that sun and then, well,
No,
stuck.
it moves around.
Oh, okay.
It was either in the visual dictionary or the Force Awakens novelization. That thing's bouncing all over the
Oh,
place.
okay.
That's
Yeah.
a major sci-fi problem, though.
it'd have been a cool
Like,
line where it
how
would be
is
like,
anyone living on that planet?
"Hey, is that a space station? No, that's a planet. That's a planet this time. It's not a space station.
doing
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Yeah, I was kind of bummed that it took 30 years to build this new republic after Return of the Jedi, and then they destroyed it without ever even showing it to you.
Which we'll hopefully see in books or comics or something.
They're
But
already
but
trying
it's
to
still,
rectify
They
it, but
yeah.
But it's a bummer.
it is.
I would rather have seen a few minutes of that than the Rathtar scene.
Yeah. Audience shouldn't have had to have walked away being like, what did they blow
Yeah,
up?
that's the first thing I heard in the parking lot afterwards. Was everyone asking what were those planets that got blown up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, nobody knew.
So little like background knowledge about
Yeah,
these people and what was going to happen to
'Cause
them in
they-
like 5 seconds.
The whole point of the original trilogy was to topple the Empire, and then they spend 30 years building this new government, and then it's all over. And you
Right.
never saw it for even 1 second.
I'm not convinced it is. I mean, I know they blow up the base, but like the new theme of it, like you can get information about it.
Well, they at least blew up the fleet and the Senate. They say that in the visual dictionary.
There's probably a couple senators on vacation at the time. I mean, I don't. I think
I'm sure they have a few other ships scattered around, but that was that was where they had their naval fleet
I
and their whole center of government.
really
I think they're going to be like pushed to go back to being rebels again.
That would be such a bummer if it is like that same kind of scale. I like the idea of like kind of the 3 faction deal. You got the Resistance, the Republic, and the First Order. Granted, they blew up a lot of the Republic, but I think we might see a little bit of retconning in Episode 8. You know,
I wouldn't be surprised though if you're right that they did just go back to being rebels. It makes
Just
a
a
lot of sense.
select few people that are still like fighting this empire or first order for what it is.
Yeah, and I might be wrong, but was there like a cut scene where Leia goes to the Senate and like tries to convince them?
she sends her representative
Yeah,
to do it.
so that's something that would have been nice.
Isn't
Like
the movie coming out pretty soon?
yeah.
Mhm.
Next week, I believe.
Next week?
With all the deleted scenes.
Cool.
Which
very
doesn't
cool.
seem like a ton.
Yeah, it's,
I'm
J-
still
and
by
it's
the
nothing,
hell out of it.
nothing really
Sure.
important.
JJ has always said that he doesn't really believe in cut content. He believes that kind of whatever was filmed is what was filmed, and he doesn't want to show you anything else. But they've released the clips of a few scenes that are very cool, like Kylo Ren getting on the Falcon on that planet is going to be awesome to see.
All right, so Rogue One, that comes out in December of this year, 2016. Thoughts, expectations of this movie?
Kyle, you're following it more than any of us, I think.
Yeah, when they first started talking about it, I wasn't too excited about it, but the more that's coming out, I think it's going to be really good.
Yeah,
There's a lot of leaked pictures online, set pictures and stuff that look pretty phenomenal.
They've kind of dropped a synopsis, right? Of what
Very
it's gonna be
vague
about.
one. Yeah.
Basically, it's supposed to be about the crew that finds the plans for the Death Star, right?
Yeah. Yeah, immediately leading up to A New Hope. That
And
Leia
do
then-
we know who's going to be in it yet?
It sounds like all new characters.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Or are you talking actors?
Yeah, anyone we know in particular.
Andy Toddick, isn't that his name? The guy that played Wash in Firefly.
Alan Tudyk.
Alan Tudyk, that's
Yeah.
it. And then Mads Mikkelsen, who he's not going to play a villain. He's actually going to play a hero, even though most things he does, he's a villain, except for that King Arthur movie. That was really good.
In the
And
lead.
he was Hannibal, right?
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
the NBC
In the
Channel
series.
5 show.
Yeah.
That guy's awesome.
The lead girl is really good too. I can't remember her name, but she was in that Theory of Everything movie, and she sounds pretty good too.
So it seems like it's a Dark Times movie?
It's that era.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're rebels, and it seems like it's going to be more of a like a war / heist kind of movie.
Now, I've heard that Vader will be in it,
Yeah.
and I've heard that Hayden Christensen will be playing him in the suit.
Please let him be.
That's
Hayden
still
Christensen.
not for certain, but
Yeah.
that's what everyone
So they're
thinks.
not going to let him talk. They're not
No.
going to let him speak.
He'll just be in the
But
suit.
he's going to be the dude in the role, like David
Yeah.
Prowse style.
I want to know that he's in there.
Yeah.
It's
As long as he doesn't talk, I'm fine with that.
I mean, they could even do some kind of quick cameo of him, without his helmet, meditation chamber or something like
I
that.
see.
I'd
Yeah, I
rather-
was just going to ask, like, what's the really point of that if we don't actually see him, like...
And the timeline makes sense. I mean, it should be, about 18 years after. So a slightly older Hayden Christensen could work.
And he's clearly not doing anything.
Yeah.
Lord, Life is a House too.
And I've also heard rumor if the toy, it was some toy like convention or something, they were showing off the toys that are coming out for like next year and stuff. And the Lego toy, they say, kind of gave it away that Boba Fett will be like the main villain.
Oh,
The idea being is that, they're coming after the plans. They got the plans. Vader's gonna send the best bounty hunter in the galaxy.
they got to really learn that mistake because we're always constantly fishing for information,
Yeah.
and toys give it away
Yeah.
all the time.
But then again, if you look at like when Lego sets come out, they don't always make Lego sets that go with the movie. They do
That's
make
true.
some, and then
They
they're
don't
like,
make action figures that accurate in general.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of...
A lot of weird backpacks on people.
They know
yeah.
people...
General Hux never had a jetpack in the movie.
And they know people like Boba Fett, so they can make any
Yeah.
Star Wars movie and they can still sell Boba Fett toys.
so I mean,
Right.
they could just be making another Slave One, just like Lego, and there you go. But
Yeah.
that's the rumor.
It'd be cool if maybe, like this is the story where Boba gets Slave One back.
That'd be
Like
cool.
he goes on the hunt for the Slave One to get it back,
Fire spray.
while in conjunction with this movie a little bit.
Yeah.
Be an interesting story.
I hope, even though this is like a self-contained movie, I hope it has the kind of freedom to kind of do its own thing and tell its own kind of story and be just a weird... I hope these offshoot anthology movies are weird and cool, like in the way that we want Episode 8 to be. Just
Yeah,
doing their own thing.
in conjunction with the original stories too.
Yeah.
Honestly, I could see Boba Fett being more in this Han Solo movie.
That would, yeah, definitely.
That or just give him his own movie.
Yep.
Right.
Which
I think-
they were planning on, seemingly, with the director from that did the Chronicle movie.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's who was supposed to be on that, but then he made that horrible Fantastic Four movie, and they were like, never mind.
Lord.
Which is, because realistically, this is me speaking personally. I would rather see a Boba Fett movie than a Han Solo prequel.
I would
Yeah.
rather see anything than a Han Solo.
Yeah. I Rogue One, I got so excited when they announced the concept for Rogue One. I'm like, oh, they're actually doing like new characters, new spin-offs, and then all the other confirmed movies that are anthology and all the other rumors is just like, come see Boba Fett do this, come see Han Solo do this. And it's like, no, you had it, you nailed it with Rogue One.
Yeah.
Do new characters, do new time periods. I don't give a crap about a Boba Fett movie or a Han Solo movie. I've got 26 years of them under my belt. Give me the Death Star.
You want
rights.
something new.
Yeah.
You want extended universe.
Yeah.
Give me more.
A lot of the...
I was sitting in line at C2E2 and we were talking Star Wars with this fan, and he had, I guess, somehow heard that they were trying to get Carl from Walking Dead to play Han Solo, a young Han Solo.
Yeah, I had heard that rumor too.
There was a short list floating around for a while with and there were some decent people on it, but at the end of the day, most people's problem is going to be that's not Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not a lot of people that can like say kid and like lady, like the way you want Harrison Ford to say it.
Yeah.
They already made a young Han Solo movie. It was The New Hope. He was like 27, 28.
He was a 24-year-old carpenter.
It happened already.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
A lot of the people involved in making Rogue One have been talking about, they haven't said anything explicit, but they're talking about how the new story group plans on making sure all these titles mesh with each other. So a lot of people think a lot of the events in Star Wars Rebels will have some impact on it, and maybe even some of the characters.
Like we're possibly seeing Kanan or something like that.
Or at least something they do in Rebels affects something that
I
happens.
see, like in conjunction.
Yeah.
I think you suggested one time too, like it'd be cool if you just like hear Hera's voice like come over at Comlink in a space battle or something.
Yeah. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
And I'd like to see the Ghost,
Yeah.
their ship,
I'd be
a
surprised.
real life version of it.
I'd be surprised if they didn't have some kind of little Easter egg in there for Rebels.
Or like you see like a chopper like
yeah,
go by.
something.
Just actual Chopper. Just
Yeah.
oh,
Chopper
that's
go
Chopper.
by.
Look at
Yeah.
that. My faith in this show has paid off finally.
He's one of the cooler astromech droids that I think they've released lately. Anyway.
Chopper's all right. Yeah.
Yeah. He's kind of put together like a bunch of parts out of nothing.
Yeah.
Rebels.
Well, in the finale, it looks like Ezra finds a saber that is pretty much looks like Kylo Ren's,
Yeah, that's
or at
interesting.
least the same style.
Well, they're going to Malachor in the last episode. And yeah, in the visual dictionary for episode 7, they say that's where the design for Kylo Ren's lightsaber comes from. So it'll have something to do with it.
So for a show that sucks a lot, we have lots of opinions from it.
I have a lot
Well,
of
that's mostly
yeah.
it's mostly me saying that.
Yeah, I like it. I don't have any problems with Rebels.
Right.
Because when I watch it, I try to remember that it is made for little kids.
Yeah.
And if I was 10, I would love it.
Yeah.
And
I kind of just like it for the information that it gives. Any kind
That's
of
the
new
biggest thing.
information that I can get, I'm on board.
Yeah.
So
It's doing. It is the only thing out there. It's. Well, I don't want to say the only thing, but it's bringing a lot of stuff back from the old expanded universe. Interdictors are back. You know, those weren't really before. That new like hangar weird starter. I forget the name of it, but that was an old EU ship.
Yeah.
Malachor, the gigantic.
Yeah.
The older. I can keep going, but
Yeah.
it's.
There's a lot of nice little shout outs to the old expanded universe.
I think they're even more than shout-outs too. The ships from the Old Republic, those Hammerhead cruisers. I mean, they don't talk about it in the show,
No.
but like continuity-wise, it's like these are some old ships. They're based on really old designs, and I'm like, oh, the door is open
Right.
for Darth Nihilus to do Darth Nihilus things. So
That's cool.
I love those. But anytime I see something from the old expanded universe come back, I get a little giddy.
Yeah.
So really not a lot to talk about Rogue One just because they haven't released hardly anything.
yeah.
Even Force Awakens gave us a little bit more at this point before the movie came out.
If
than
you were
Rogue
Kyle,
One.
he knew the whole movie going into it. I didn't, I didn't follow any of it. Me, Zach, and I went in dark.
I seek out leaks. I can't help it.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? Like everyone needs their fix of like their version of heroin.
Yeah. And I self-censored a little bit. There's some things I wouldn't read. I mean, there was basically a whole like call sheet and plot leak weeks before the movie came out that I managed not to read. But anything like photographs or like leaked pictures from sets, I couldn't not look
I'm gonna
at.
try to do my best to kind of stay out of the woods with this next one because I was kind of the same with you. I was looking for stuff to find information.
Yeah.
And like I would rather go in like surprise on Christmas morning type of situation.
That's what I did. And I think after that first main trailer, I kind of just stopped.
Stopped.
Yeah.
Well, it was fun actually watching it and seeing what parts of the leaked information was right and what was totally wrong.
What was the biggest one that just didn't? What was?
Oh my god! Luke's final line, which he obviously didn't have a line at all. Then
That old guy was supposed to be old
yes,
Boba Fett.
early on people thought Lor Santeca was Boba Fett. There's a ton of them. You could if you just go online and look for people talking about Star Wars like 2 years ago, you can read some amazing fan theories.
We find it funny just like to tag those people, and then after you see the movie,
Yeah.
tell them how wrong they are.
Yeah.
Every
Yeah.
single
Hunt them
one of
down.
them.
Yeah,
Like
they're-
find them. Right on. All right. So I just want to thank you guys for coming on, man. That was very cool. You guys were awesome, very funny. I love like all your opinions and definitely like information from the comic books because I don't read a lot of those comic books and I actually kind of want to read Lando now.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, for sure. We usually do an outro segment where we give our favorite comic books for the next running week. So we're going to do that. And I'll go to you.
Mine is Omega Men number 10. Kyle Rayner's back as a White Lantern, kicking a bunch of ass. So that's my pick.
I don't know if you guys read comics or have anything to look forward to in the next coming week, but if you guys have anything to look forward to.
Vader's the next Star Wars. Just more Star Wars.
Yeah,
Get that one.
as far as comics go, I pretty much only read Star Wars and
Okay.
a few other random ones. But yeah, next week, same as him, Darth Vader, number 18. I think 18, right?
It's one of them.
Yeah.
I read a bunch of stuff, but none of it's really coming out next week. So something that came out last week I liked was TMNT 55, where they introduced Leatherhead finally after teasing him for so long. And
How is that book?
it's awesome.
Yeah.
I think it's probably the best iteration of the Ninja Turtles in a long time. It takes a lot of different ideas from different iterations and just it's really good writing. It's awesome.
The first thing I've heard that made me pay attention to the book was obviously like the death of Donatello.
That's what happened for me too. And then I went back and picked all the old ones up.
Picked everything up from number 1.
Well, I have like a few trades, but I think like up from like 30 something up I have. But yeah, it's so good. It's
Right on.
really cool. Yeah.
That's very cool. I'm actually looking forward to Back to the Future number 6. They keep continuing with this book. I don't know if it's going to be ongoing or it's stopping, but I love this book. I think it's awesome. There's like an amalgam of different stories. Like there's 3 different stories in the first book, how Marty met Doc when he was a little kid. A lot of filler stuff, like times that Doc went to before ever like coming back to meet Marty for the second movie. Like just a bunch of different fun stuff, like all the time he spent in the West with his kids and his kids growing up. And, if you're a Back to the Future fan, it's definitely a go-to comic. So that's my pick of the week. I think number 6 is just going to be more of the same of that.
That sounds
Looking forward
cool.
to it. So
Never even heard of that yet. It's just Doc and Marty adventures.
yeah, it's sort of like the adventures of Doc and Marty and like short stories of, like the characters from those movies. So if you're a fan of Back to the Future, I definitely highly recommend it.
Cool.
And each short story has a different writer and a different artist.
Awesome.
So yeah. So it's just a kind of a collection. And I'm sure that they're going to be coming out with a trade paperback eventually. But as for now, like number 6 is coming out this week and I'll probably end up still picking that up. So, thanks to everyone again for coming on.
Thank you.
Thanks for giving
Hopefully
me an
we'll
outlet.
Yeah.
To be insane.
For sure. If we do another Star Wars podcast, I hope to see you possibly again.
Yeah.
We'll end up probably doing one before Rogue One comes out.
Yeah.
I'd like to see another one before Rogue One comes out. Just maybe even a speculation episode
Yeah.
or something like that.
Any one of these topics we talked about today, I could do 3 hours. I could do 3 hours on Rebels. I could do
Right
3
on.
hours.
That's normally
on
how we
the-
feel
yeah.
about comic books, much the same way. We continue to talk where Andy constantly wants to cut us off, but that's less work for him to do, and we love Andy. So, but yeah, thanks again. I was your guest speaker for this week, and hope I didn't screw up too much. But Blake will be back as normal next week, along with Cameron. And thanks again for the Heroes podcast. Have a good week, guys.